Good evening. I'm jumping on to make a video tonight just to talk to you about the idea of coven work, of finding a group to learn with, finding somebody to mentor you. Um, it's something that a lot of people think about when they first kind of venture into witchcraft. Is it something they want to do alone? Is it something they want to do with a group? And then, of course, you've got to find a group that actually suits you. There are green flags and there are red flags. And I wanted to jump on and just chuck some ideas at you. First of all, we're lucky in that we live in a time where there are so many resources. There are a whole bunch of Facebook groups, pagans in your local area. There's the Pagan Federation. There are websites that specifically have lists of local groups working. So I suppose the first thing is whether or not you have somebody working in your area and how far, excuse me, how far you are willing to travel to find someone. People have been known to travel hundreds of miles. Um, in South Wales, particularly, there are quite a few working covens. Just because they're local doesn't mean that they're going to be a suitable group for you. First of all, you've got to look at the tradition. Okay, there are a vast number of traditions of witchcraft in our local area alone. We've got Alexandrian, we've got Hellenic, we've got local kind of Welsh traditional groups. There are all sorts. So, first of all, do your research. What is it that makes you tick? Are you looking for something that is particularly traditional? Are you looking for an initiatory tradition? Or are you just looking for a group of people who are working together? Because all of these are available out there. Joining a coven is what is the word I'm thinking of? It is a privilege, not a right. So, should you find someone local to you, there's no guarantee that they're actually going to take you on. They might be full, they might not be in a position to be training, or they might just find that you're not suited to them. Likewise, while they have no obligation to train you, should you join a coven, you have no obligation to stay there. It is imperative that you feel comfortable, that you feel welcome, and that you feel safe. So let's have a look at some of these safeguarding issues, okay? Assuming you find yourself a group who you're willing to work with and who are willing to work with you. On that, let me just point out that the vast majority of covens do not recruit. It is down to you, the seeker, to seek your local coven or to seek someone who you want to work with. If you are joining a coven, are they asking you for money? There are a whole number of groups online where you can pay a subscription, you can pay to join a course. There are some who are even offering first, second, and third degree initiations at a cost. That is ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Witchcraft is experiential. You need to be working, actually physically working with people to go through your initiations, okay? Even if it is an initiatory group, because not all covens are. Some are, you just rock up and do your thing. If they let you in straight away, that is potentially a red flag. You should be given time to figure out if you glue, if you get on with them, if you agree with the way that they practice. You're not going to be let straight into the inner mysteries, but you should certainly spend time getting to know them. A lot of covens have what we would call an outer court, a group where you can kind of turn up, maybe join some open rituals, maybe socialize a little bit, undergo some basic work with them. Some have a training program. I personally run a book club. It's absolutely not a book club, it's an occult study group. This is a thing of itself. However, it is also a gateway to my coven. So it gives me a chance to get to know people. If they request to join the coven, I will ask that they come along to the open rituals, that they come along to the book club, see how they fit. Covens will work by a hierarchy. So you'll have your high priestess or your high priesthood, your high priest perhaps, um, sometimes hierarchical in themselves, with the high priestess being the coven leader and the high priest being her consort, or you'll have them running it together. And then you'll have your leaders, your elders, who are going to be taking part in some of the teaching, taking more responsibility in the coven, and then you've got your initiates, and then perhaps people who are waiting for initiation, the neophytes, so to speak. But everybody in that coven should have a voice. It's not a case of the high priestess is in charge of everything and everybody jumps when she says jump, mostly. But what I'm saying is you should be able to ask questions. You should be able to pipe up if you're not feeling comfortable. Not being allowed a voice, as far as I'm concerned, is a red flag. You shouldn't be asked to pay to join a coven. You shouldn't be asked to pay a subscription or a tithe or any of the other crazy things that you hear. You may well be asked to contribute to a room hire, or perhaps towards candles, incense, things like that. That is my dog itching in the background. I apologize for the background noise. I need one of those noise cancelling microphone things. I'm just recording this on my phone. You can tell. Anyway, it's really important that you feel respected and heard in the group that you're working with, right? A lot of groups will become almost like a kinship, like a family. That doesn't mean you have to socialize outside of your group, but it does mean that you should feel supported while you're there. It is about the learning, but it is also about achieving group mind and about working together. Aside from the money aspect, where you shouldn't be asked to pay, now let me clarify here. There is a line between workshops and coven training. I charge for workshops. These are things that people come to out of interest to develop themselves. I don't charge anybody to be in my coven, because that is priesthood. That's something entirely different, right? You should be comfortable that your information is kept in confidence when you are in a coven, that people aren't going to out you. Not everybody is firmly out of the broom closet. Some people are still very firmly inside. So you should know that your coven members are not going to be able to share information about you. They're not going to be talking about you to anybody. And if they are, they're certainly not going to be naming names. That goes both ways. Unless your coven are comfortable being out, being mentioned, it's not the done thing to talk about. You can say you're a member of a coven, but not to say, oh, so and so is my high priest out, or so and so is, somebody who I go to coven with. This is one of the reasons I call my book club a book club. It means that you don't have to clumsily say where you know somebody from if you bump into them. Let's talk about sex, baby. There are still a myriad of groups out there who no, that that's a lie. It's not a myriad of groups. I just really like that word tonight. There are a shocking number of groups out there who are still pulling the whole you've got to sleep with the high priest to be a member of this coven bollocks. You do not. Intimacy is something that is between you and whoever you choose to share it with. That should have nothing to do with the coven. Should you go down the route of initiation, and should you get to your third degree in a traditional Alexandrian or Gardnerian coven, then there is a ceremony, a rite called the Great Rite, that you would partake in for your third degree. Now, this is a symbolic joining of the god and the goddess and involves symbolic union. Some people will choose to do this in actual, but this is down to them. And quite often they will already be lovers, already in an intimate relationship, or be people who are very, very comfortable to do that. It certainly shouldn't be a requirement. Absolutely not. This is a big fat red flag. Let's talk about your personal time and where the coven sits in your list of priorities. For me, family is going to come first every damn time. I have got, now they're having a drink, I've got two daughters, and I will put everything else on hold, including circle nights, if I need to deal with them, if I have some kind of family issue. If you have any kind of problem getting there to a meeting and that it can't be helped, it's something to do with your children or your family or some personal issue, you shouldn't be berated for that. It is expected that you turn up to everything that you possibly can. However, we are human beings, and most of us have got jobs and other expectations of our time. As long as you give as much notice as you possibly can, this should not be a problem. Some covens will say you must turn up to a particular number of events, of sabbats or esbats. Again, it's advisable, it's useful, but the majority of covens will tell you that you progress in your own time. If I have people who can only come every now and again, as long as I know that they are serious about their position in the coven and that they truly do want to learn, then their space is there for them. They will progress as quickly or as slowly as they are able to, as their lifestyle and their health and their other obligations allow them to. What else do I want to mention here? Comfort levels. Your own level of comfort is really, really important here. During a course of learning, you're going to push your own boundaries. You're going to push your own, I suppose, your own spiritual depth. You should find some things challenging. You shouldn't find them uncomfortable. You shouldn't find them distressing. If you are ever asked to do something that is put my teeth in and start again. If you're ever asked to do something that causes distress to you, then that is not the right place for you. There are covens out there that work in all sorts of different ways. The majority of traditional Alexandrian and Gardnerian covens work skyclad. That means we work with no clothes on. Is out there to make you uncomfortable? No. It's there to be a leveler. It's there because you're without ego as children of the gods. It's not a sex thing. If you're not comfortable with that, find out. If you're looking at a coven, find out, do they work skyclad? Do they not work skyclad? If it is something that is a hard no for you, that is clearly not going to be the group for you, right? Don't force yourself into immense discomfort just because you feel that you need to be learning with these people. If you are clashing with the way they work, then they're not for you. A coven should be easy to leave. Difficult to join, but easy to leave. Nobody is kept against their will. If you are kept against your will or cajoled into not leaving, that is more of a cult than a coven, and they are very, very different creatures. A coven should be held in perfect love and perfect trust when you're there, okay? So anything that is raising alarm bells, if it smells wrong, get out, okay? There is nothing wrong with asking for information. There's nothing wrong with wanting to know what you're going to go through. Somebody very wise recently said to me that the craft is something that has few secrets and many mysteries. If something is shrouded in secrecy, it should raise a question, why? Is this something that is there to keep you on your toes, to control you? Don't be afraid to think laterally there. Your safeguarding is incredibly important. The majority of covens will not accept people who are under 18. Some won't accept people under 21. Some will accept people who are 16 and onwards with parental consent. It's horses for courses. There is no regulation in witchcraft, which is wonderful but also dangerous. Okay? Look after yourself. If you have questions, question. a lot of people who are following a traditional path will have a vouch system. If it is an initiatory tradition, they should be able to share with you which line they are. You should be able to get references, as much as they might ask for references from you if you need them. Um, you can ask for references from them. Can you tell me some other people you've worked with so that you can find out? You should be able to meet other members or people who know them who can actually vouch for these people. Um, when we don't talk, when we don't communicate, this is how cults come about. This is how people end up in these horrendous situations where they're being bled dry of their money, of their energy. Um, you shouldn't be living in fear of your coven, ever, 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 ever. Respect, absolutely. Your high priestess may be stern sometimes, but if she is, it's part of your learning. We aim for a balance, mirth and reverence. You know, if it's too much of one or the other, then there's a lack of balance there. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say on it. If you are seeking, seek, ask the questions. We don't approach you. And if we do, run. Also, if you come across somebody who tells you they know everything, run. We don't know everything. We are as human as the rest of you. Do you know what? We cock up like the rest of you, but we should also have the humility to say, hey, I screwed that up. You know, communication should be open and honest at all times. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to drop me a message. Okay, guys, look after yourselves. Blessed be.